Hello and welcome to my channel. I have the Planet of the Apes Dr. Zaius kit from Aurora Models, and this is from a scene depicted in the second film, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. On the back of the box you can see some other kits from this range. I've already assembled the Cornelius kit and I'll leave a link for that somewhere. And for those taking note, this is model number 6805. So inside we have a sealed bag containing all the pieces along with some black and white instructions. We'll just cut this open so I can take a closer look inside. This is actually a vintage kit, which explains why all the pieces have fallen off the sprues, but I suppose that saved me a little bit of work. The instructions are fairly straightforward, they only contain a handful of steps. On the rear you can see some of their classic monster kits. I've now got all the pieces laid out so I know exactly what I'm working with. There are still some sprue tabs and seam lines which need removing, so mini file or some sandpaper usually does the trick. And then using some modelling cement I can start the assembly. So first up is the main part of the base, which includes this back wall and the raised stand. This scene actually depicts the destruction of the Planet of the Apes as the control panel supplied detonates the Alpha Omega bomb, and this was supposed to bring an end to the franchise, which is still going strong to this day. There are a few gaps and seam lines which need taking care of, and those were either filled in or filed down, because the idea is to make it look less like a kit and more like an actual scene from the film. And the sanding sponge will remove the last of the excess pussy. And now it's time to go on the control panels for the bomb. First goes on the mutant symbol, next goes on the holy book, which is already open, and then last to go on are the strange crystallite control panel. And now it's time to assemble Dr. Zaius. First I need to slot in the pegs for the arms, and then I can glue on both the front and back section of the body, as this is entirely one piece. I'm going to need some clamp to hold these two parts together, and this will help reduce the seams. As you can see, it looks like it's into a little bit of bondage. So we just need to take all these off, then we can check out the seams. And for the most part they're hardly visible, so they're only going to need a little bit of clean up. And as I'm filing down this leg, you can see the seam line disappearing, although there are a couple of holes in the feet which need filling in. Next I glue the head into place, as it can only fit one way, and that thankfully is a perfect fit. And then last of all I need to assemble the arms, and then once they've dried I'll glue them into place. You can put these on any angle that you wish, but I've chosen to line them up with a pattern on the jacket. To stop the base looking too flat and artificial, I'm going to give it a once over with the stone effect, before going over it with some grey primer. And while I'm at it, I also prime up Dr. Zaius, and once they've dried I can start the painting, and I'm going to concentrate on the base first. All this area in the film looks like it's been made out of concrete, so grey makes a good base colour, but the problem is that it's flat. So I stipple on some lighter and darker shades to make it more natural, and while I'm using the off-white colour I also paint the pages of the book, and then I continue adding colour to the main base. Sand and soil would naturally be dragged into this arena, so I brush those colours predominantly into the edges and on the rubble and areas where people would naturally walk. And then using a paint pen I draw on the Alpha and Omega symbols in the book, and then I age the book using a brown wash. The control cylinders are supposed to be transparent or red. I'm going to compromise and use this little jewel as the detonator. And there it is, cut down to size and glued in place. Next I give it a once over with some weathering powders, then I hold all that in place with some matte sealer, and now that's the base completed. For Dr. Zaius' face I use dark flesh. This character is wearing boots and gloves, so I only need to paint the face, of which I then paint on a brown wash, and once that's dried I dry brush on the light flesh. That combination gives me all the definitions on his face. Using an off-white colour I paint on his eyes. A lot of people will use pure white, but this is too bright for eyes. Next I use a brown to paint on the pupils. This area is slightly raised, which makes it easier to know where they are. Then I use a blonde colour for the eyebrows, and also the same colour for the hair. As he's based on an orangutan, so it looks very different to the other apes. The colours for the artworks on the box are way off. They have Dr. Zaius wearing a blue suit, when actually it's a tan colour. And once that's done, I'll move on to light brown for the other parts, which is predominantly the shirt, sleeves and gloves. As you can see, these darker pieces of clothing have writing on them. In order to make that more visible, you need to go over it with a light dry brush. The paint catches on the edges and makes the writing pop. I also went ahead and painted the boots in a reddish brown, and when those have dried I spray everything with a matte sealer, and then with a fine brush and some gloss paint I go over the eyes, and hopefully they'll sparkle a little bit now. And all that's left to do is attach him to the base and show him off. Altogether I'm quite pleased with how he's ended up, although I do think that the Cornelius kit which I made previously is a better kit. And at the moment these are only available on the second hand market, which means they're getting very expensive, so I won't be enhancing my collection anytime soon. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.